Delighted to be joined today by Jackson Cooper, the Executive Director of American Genre Film Archive. Hi Jackson, how are you doing?
Great, I'm well. I'm coming to you live from Fantastic Fest here in Austin, Texas.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time today. Obviously, I imagine you'll be quite busy with that underway this weekend. Managed to work around the time difference to get this working, so that's quite good. So basically, you're celebrating with the American Genre Film Archive, AGFA, as you can see on your T-shirt, obviously.
Yeah.
15 years, 15th anniversary. Um, just for anyone that doesn't know about your company, if you could just give us a brief sort of introduction to yourselves.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Well, you teased one of the biggest celebrations we have, which is that it's our 15th anniversary year of preserving, protecting, and promoting the greatest genre films and their filmmakers of all time. So we are an archive and a film distributor. So we house about, I would say, 6,035 35 millimeter and 16 millimeter prints in our physical archive, which is here in Austin. And then we restore a lot of lost genre films and put them out on Blu-ray, Blu-ray label, which we have distributed through OCN and Vinegar Syndrome, our friends over there. And then we also have the theatrical distribution rights to a lot of films. So not only the films that we restore and own the rights for, but a lot of the films that our partner Blu-ray labels like Arrow, Severin, Vinegar Syndrome, those restorations, they put out on Blu-ray, and then we have the theatrical rights to them. So we work directly with micro cinemas and film festivals to screen these films to the new generations of genre film lovers. And we've been doing it, yeah, for 15 years. It was founded by Tim League, who founded the Alamo Drafthouse and is still very much involved in AGFA. And I think one thing that makes us very unique, I'll just end with, is unlike our partner Blu-ray labels and also other theatrical distributors, we are a non-for-profit organization. So a lot of our work comes through earned revenue through Blu-ray sales, but primarily through donations and the support of people who just love the work that we do and things like that. So we have a really, really amazing community. And yeah, it's just such an incredible year for us.
Mm. And having, as you said, the celebrations in Austin during the festival, how's that been so far? Was yesterday the first day it opened? I get mixed up with the time zone.
First day was technically on Friday.
Yeah.
Yes, so yes, that was yesterday. But as you can tell, I'm in festival mode where I don't even know what day it is. And
Yeah.
so yeah, it's been great. It's been, the energy here is always electric. I mean, there's filmmakers and film people as well, mingling amongst film lovers, which is so great. Like we're all just one, big enthusiastic, positive a group, herd, whatever you want to call us, a community, of course. But it's pretty insane and intense. AGFA is doing tomorrow on Sunday a full takeover day at the festival. We're taking over one theater and we're screening 4 of our works that sort of embody and showcase what we do. So including a brand new restoration that we'll be putting out in January on Blu-ray.
Mm. And that's the Mission Johnny Toe 35mm rare print of that getting shown. So
Yeah.
is that something that has it been a kind of long time in the making? Is it
Well,
how's that came about?
the Johnny Toe in particular.
Hmm.
We chose the Johnny Toe one not just because it's a criminally underrated film, action film from the 90s. And Johnny Toe is sort of having a moment right now, which is really exciting. But also we have, a bunch of prints of his films in our archive. And so we wanted to, in showcasing sort of all that we do in this 15th anniversary year, showing a beautiful print of a genre film that maybe not a lot of people know about or have never seen, sort of this new discovery was really important to us. So it's a pristine 35 millimeter print and truly, truly gorgeous. Yeah, I'm very excited about that one.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And as you said, it's a full takeover day. I've got the names here: the Carnival of Blood, Satan War, and The Incredibly Strange Creatures Who Became Mixed Up Zombies. It's quite
Yes.
a title.
It is quite a title, and that sort of came about in that era when in the 60s when there were a bunch of titles, that were very, very long, on movie posters and such. Yeah, so that sort of all really helps encapsulate what AGFA is about. So The Incredibly Strange Creatures kicks us off, and that's a new restoration from Severin Films, that we distribute theatrically, and that's sort of a true genre psychotronic hit by Ray Dennis Steckler that is sort of like, what is AGFA? It's like we sort of point to people like Ray Dennis Steckler, Ed Wood, of course, Coleman Francis, those sort of guys. So we wanted to do that and celebrate our partners at Severin for their beautiful work. And then Carnival Blood was an original restoration we did, in partnership with Something Weird Video, which we own most of that collection and work directly with Mike Vraney's widow, Lisa Petrucci. And then The Mission, as I was saying, like something from our physical archives that we want to show audiences, again, as a new discovery. And then Satan War is a brand new restoration that AGFA will be putting out on Blu-ray in January. And it's a very mind-melting DIY Amityville ripoff that is sort of like Satanic Panic and Amityville horror meets your friend's dad who has a camera and just is having a great time filming this incredible horror film. So it's a really unique regional horror film, and we work directly with the filmmakers family to get the elements and to work on a commentary. So we're really excited about Satan War. Yeah.
Hmm. It seems now, obviously, I don't know a huge amount in terms of your background, but it seems that you do have a kind of a passion for getting those voices that might not necessarily be heard out there,
Yeah.
giving them a voice, especially getting something like Fantastic Fest.
Yeah.
It's they might not get the viewership that they deserve.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty incredible. I mean, one of the things that, yeah, thank you for saying that, because I do, one of the things that's really been incredible about working with AGFA and what we do that is so unique is, because we're a nonprofit, a lot of our work is not obviously focused on making money, although we do like that, and we do make, really, really very profitable. But every decision we make and every strategy is always based on our mission. And the team is really very selfless in being like, just because we like it doesn't mean that, other people may. So we always look to what filmmakers and what films do we think deserve to be seen because they have a great story attached to them, or there's an underrepresented filmmaker. So we do focus a lot on BIPOC, queer, Asian, feminist filmmakers, and we prioritize those voices when we're curating what restorations we do, what Blu-rays we put out. And so a lot of it is grounded in that. And also, if there is a very popular lost film, and we talk to our partners with Vinegar Syndrome and Severin, and we're all supportive and in the same community. So it's kind of like, if someone is not restoring it and we feel that it deserves to be restored because of that criteria I discussed, like, then we just put it out. So
Mm.
so that's sort of why I mentioned, like, we're protecting the legacies of these films and their filmmakers by
Mm.
restoring them and putting them out for people. Yeah.
Yeah. When you say lost film, like for me, something that would come to mind for lost film is the Paul W.S. Anderson cut of Event Horizon, which there's supposed to be the director's cut was lost in flooding, I think, or something happened
Yeah.
in Warner Brothers. So
Allegedly.
wait. Yeah, allegedly, yeah, he just doesn't want that out. Or he does, but certainly the studio don't. When you say a lost film, how do you mean that? Do you mean maybe lost in time through, again, maybe not getting a fan base it deserves, or is there physical sort of parts that are missing that you maybe have to jigsaw together as well?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a little bit of both, actually. So we often refer to a lost film as a movie that just has not either been restored sought after, like found really, just like we don't know where the elements are and we try to track it down. And it's basically something that's not in circulation, whether on Blu-ray or in the theaters. Um, Typically, we typically like, we would see that we know that through like the studio system first, right? That, these big studios produce so many films, especially in the mid 20th century in Hollywood when they were just pushing things out. And now it's like they just either sit on a shelf or they're in the archives and such. Well, there's, hundreds, if not millions, of other movies that were made by amateur filmmakers and first films, movies directed by somebody once, and then it was screened once at a theater in LA and then put in their archive. I mean, those are sort of the stories that we find when it comes to lost films. So, again, our team all comes from a background of film programming and film history. So we all sort of have our own wish lists of those sort of lost films. So things that either filmmakers have not released, whether because of rights issues and stuff, or something that's just been out there in the ether as a rumor. Like, maybe I believe this film exists. Do we know who has it? And that actually gets to be the fun part of my job, is like chasing down rights holders, and who has the physical elements too is also very important.
Hmm.
So it's yeah, it's quite a bit of a chase game, which is a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And
yeah,
is that quite
it
a
gets a little,
an art? Sorry, on you go.
no, go ahead. Sorry.
So is that quite a long process then, just from beginning to end? Maybe you're having the brainstorm of, oh, we want to see this movie which we've not been able to find for
Yeah.
10, 20 years, to the point where you're showing it to people, you have it, when whether it's a Blu-ray release, whether it is through cinematic screenings. Is it quite a
Yeah.
can it be quite a tricky and long process?
It can. Film restoration is as long a process as you want it to be, but the physical sourcing of the materials can often take, months, if not years.
Mm.
I will say, at AGFA, I hope I'm not leading on that, we're just sort of the Wild West of just trying to be like, I think, but like a film pops into our head and then we go out and get on the phone, hello operator, call 922. Like, we pretty much know, again, between all of us and also our friends at Vinegar Syndrome and Severin, who are also doing this work,
Mhm.
we are able to sort of source down like what is more easily accessible or can be easily accessible, so, rather than just being like, I wonder if this film exists and things like that. There are some of those where it's just sort of dead in the water, stop it in the tracks, like, that'll never be released. Or there's obviously infamous lost films like Elaine May's The Heartbreak Kid, and others where it's just like, we'll never see the light of day for that. We know it exists, but there's rights issues and things like that. But yeah, for us, we typically work from a list that we've already built, from being
Okay.
like, we either have an idea of who has the rights, or we need to ask our friends, and then from there we go chasing and seeing, number one, who has the elements, if
Mm.
any elements exist, or also who has the rights. Because normally people who have the physical copy of the film, if they're not the filmmaker or related to the filmmaker, they don't possess the rights. So then we have to go chase the rights and figure that out. However, and that could take a long time. Yeah.
Mm. And I would imagine through that process there can be a lot of frustrations. Is there? We don't obviously need to say names or anything. By names, I'm not meaning people, but um,
Thank you.
by
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not going to just get you
I would
slandering
like to
people.
stay in this job, by the way. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. um, but I mean, sort of titles. Is there anything that you've maybe you've had the elements in place, but and it's been one that you've been desperate to get and you've just not been able to push it over the line? Is I imagine there elements of that involved in it as well.
Yeah, so personally, in my role, since I'm fairly new in this
Mm,
role, but I know the team has had situations like that before I
yeah,
came on, where they will get pretty far in a process only to find out that something doesn't exist. I will say something actually this something actually something like that did just happen to us while I was there, but a movie but it has a happy ending. So a movie we're putting out in December is a lost film. It was put
mm,
out back in the '90s with Something Weird video, and then the elements were lost, just forgotten about, and including some lost footage in that film. It's like missing footage, and we decided we found the elements. I think if I recall, Something Weird has had some of the elements to scan, and but we got a tip that the missing reel with this footage was at the Library of Congress, who had the only other known print of it,
right,
and so we asked the Library of Congress, and we got it, only to realize that there was no missing footage. Like it was missing the missing footage. And so,
right,
but at that same time, and this is no joke, like that same week, the Harvard Film Archive reached out to us to donate several 35 millimeter prints, including a print of this film, which we didn't even know Harvard had the only other known print. And the Harvard print had the missing footage. So it was like literally the film gods were on our side, and we were able to put in the missing footage. So in our December release on Blu-ray, the Bloodorama triple feature, for Love Goddesses of Blood Island, you'll see the full remastered, uncut version of it, and it looks stunning. I mean, it's really quite
yeah.
a lot of fun. But yeah, I'll write a book one day called Reel 6, because that was my first experience trying to find some missing footage. Very
Mm.
stressful, but worth it in the end.
I can imagine then having that happy coincidence with the happy ending as well, just
Oh,
makes
it
it
was oh,
worthwhile.
it was truly bizarre. I mean, in the best way possible. It was so bizarre.
Mhm,
Because we were going through their list. They were like, here's the list of the films we want to donate to AGFA. And we actually, it was under a different title. It was under the original title. So the sexier title was Love Goddesses of Blood Island, but it was originally called Six She's and a He. And so we're going through and we were like, oh my God, that is? And so it just became this whole thing of like, could you please send us that as soon as possible? Back to your original point, the stress is actually not the chase, but it's meeting the deadlines
right,
for putting things out on Blu-ray and publicizing. I mean, like that's where we're racing against the clock, is like getting the physical element shipped to Austin, having to inspect it and then restore it. I mean, that could take a long time. And I know Love Goddesses, our head of film restoration, we were all sweating a bit, because that was kind of in the 11th hour we found out. But again, that was kind of a happy coincidence that
yeah.
is a once in a lifetime thing. So
Aye. So you said you're fairly
yeah.
new. How did you come on board with AGFA then? Was it a company you were very aware of before starting working with them? For them?
I did,
With?
yeah, and I knew them through Alamo Draft House. So
Okay.
I worked. I've always loved film, and genre film in particular. I mean, I would stay up and watch Ed Wood films out of 1 a.m. with sitting this close to the television set, and things like Carnival of Souls, Night of the Living Dead obsessed me as a kid. I read Michael Weldon's Psychotronic Encyclopedia of Film back, cover to cover, before I was like 12. So I always loved these films, but my sort of day job was always in the nonprofit space, specifically
Okay.
in like fundraising in particular. And so I grew up in Raleigh, North Carolina, in the States, and there was an Alamo Draft House in Raleigh, and I did a monthly film series there. So I knew about AGFA because AGFA was associated with Alamo, as
Mm.
this sort of sister company. And I've always known about them and such, and then I just saw this opportunity for the executive director show up, and I had to throw my hat in. So It's been great. It's been really fantastic. The team is great. The board is great. You know, again, I'm here in Fantastic Fest, so can't complain about, you know, this being the job. So it's great.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
obviously, I can't ask you how the response has been to the movies tomorrow because that would be impossible. But
Yeah.
that's a strange statement for me to make. But
No, no. Yeah.
how have you? Has there been any? Have you spoke to anyone that's going to be attending the screenings tomorrow that's looking forward to it? But since you've been there,
Yeah, we have, I mean, you know, one of the really incredible things about beginning this role was, you know, how big the community for AGFA is. I mean, and
Mhm.
it's not just people who collect physical media. It's people who love, you know, the things that AGFA produces, not just the restorations, but you know, we have found footage mixtapes that we do in house with our staff, where we sort of take, you know, footage in different themes and movies and sort of, you know, corroborate them into a feature. And then, you know, obviously the Something Weird tie-in, there's a big community there. So the people I've been meeting at the fest have been just AGFA super fans so
Mm.
far. So I'm actually really excited about tomorrow, not just because we're screening it, but because I'm excited to just see the reaction of everybody at every single different one, because the people I've met are just like, oh, we're just so excited for AGFA and we're so excited you guys are presenting. So it's, yeah, I'm really curious to see who shows up. You know, I don't know if there's any celebrities who are also AGFA fans, but I guess we'll find out tomorrow. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And will you be attending every screening as well? Will you, or will you be
I will be
introducing and
there.
then?
I'll be there all day. I will be there all day. I'll be selling shirts beforehand. I'll do a quick introduction and then pass it on to, we have a different staff member doing an intro for each screening. But I'll do sort of a welcome and talking about our 15th anniversary. So yeah, I'll be here all day, and yeah, I'm really excited. So um, yeah, selling shirts and hats out in the front too. I do it all. I do it all.
Yeah, yeah, and then partaking in Super Mario themed karaoke later on
Yeah,
as well,
yeah,
of
like,
course.
yeah, this beautiful, wonderful room I have all to myself for the next 2.5 hours, yeah.
Nice. And so for you kind of touched slightly a wee bit there on the physical media.
Yeah,
Nowadays, there's always talk now about the importance of having physical media. Um, One of the most kind of recent things that I picked up on, certainly in the kind of public domain, was the issue with Hush, Mike Flanagan's Hush. Now,
yes.
obviously, this is a different type of scope with dealing with Netflix and things like that. That's finally got in a physical release this year, maybe next month.
Yeah,
And it shows that even the names as big as Flanagan can just still, it takes so long and the process can be so drawn out for them to be able to get a physical release. Is it well, I think it will always be a major part of film ownership and film
yeah.
enjoyment. Do you guys obviously you have that in your archive, but is it something that you feel is very important to keep pushing and keep having literally a hold of?
Yes, yes, and I'll tell you why. I mean, there's just the very practical, straightforward that, it's never gone away and it's not going away. So
Mm,
that's sort of just foundational, like, yeah, or people in my orbit, when I talk about Blu-rays, they're just like, oh, it's kind of like vinyl. I say, well, it is and it isn't, because vinyl also, no, you know, vinyl was replaced, and I think Blu-rays are still, you know, streaming has in a sense replaced Blu-rays up to a certain point. But I
mm,
think there is still a power with physical media where it's not just there's a lot of collectors for sure, and that's a lot of our community are people who just collect those. You know, our Blu-rays who had bought VHSs in the 90s and things like that.
yeah.
Then there's also, I think, from our perspective as a nonprofit, I mean, this is, like I was saying, that protection of our of the filmmakers. I mean, it is literally preserving the film and bringing out through, you know, essay booklet or video essays or audio commentary, like helping to really protect and keep their vision into what they do. And yeah, I don't think it's ever going away. I think it's here to stay. And we actually have found that Blu-ray does not take away from the theatrical experience, it actually enhances it.
Mhm.
So we actually find that, you know, when we put out the Blu-rays, that there's more of a demand from movie theaters and bookers to book our films because it's on Blu-ray. So there's a little bit of like validity that is really beneficial for distributors like us, to put out a physical copy of something that somebody can watch. And especially programmers who are always looking for something. I mean, there's so much out there.
Mhm.
So there's to have something tangible does allow you to pause and sort of, you know, watch it, assess it, think about it. So I don't think it'll ever go away. And we
Mhm.
don't plan to ever, you know, go, you know, not have a Blu-ray line or anything like that.
Mhm. Yeah. And it's given, as you said, it gives the creatives, they'll always have that as well.
Yeah,
They'll always have
absolutely.
that to
Yeah.
to look back on and reminisce over, and it's something special for them as well. Yeah, it's just it's a strange sort of situation, I think, that's been ongoing, and it seems to maybe not be coming to a head, but there's just niggles from either side maybe, and there's elements where through a certain streamer you can purchase a movie, but it's never really yours, even if you've got it on um, your app. If they lost certain rights, then it could just be removed from their app, and even though you've paid £20 or $25, it's never really yours. So having that
Yeah.
aspect is definitely really important.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I think there are, you know, I also think, you know, I have to give credit to, you know, our partners at Criterion Collection and Severin and Vinegar Syndrome, who really have helped sort of revive the power of physical media. I think by really putting out these lost films and these underseen films, I think that's really allowed the culture to embrace it and to be like, okay, this is something I have and I
Yeah.
own, that I bought, that I can't find on Netflix or that I can't find on Amazon. And so I think, yeah, I think it's still very, very important. And yeah, I'm really proud that we tie in the mission so well with our Blu-rays. I mean, that's sort of where we start when it comes to
Mm.
strategy and curation, is like, what do we want to put out on Blu-ray? And that's how we, like I was saying, curate the voices and the stories and the filmmakers. So
Yeah.
is through that physical media. Yeah.
Nice. And through just in general, and for genre cinema just now, do you think it's is this as strong as it's been? 'Cause do you feel that it's going from strength to
Genre?
strength? Just
Genre?
genre in general, yeah, just
Oh
genre
my
cinema,
God.
yeah.
Oh, absolutely. It's having a moment right now. I mean,
Mm,
it is some of the most it's some of the most profitable movies today. And I don't think it's gonna I don't think it's, you know, I don't think it's a bubble. I think people are really just you know, recognizing the power of genre, in particular with horror films and
yeah.
exploitation. I mean, when you see how big something like In a Violent Nature, or right now The Substance is doing very well. But then, you know, a re-release of Coraline, you know,
Mm,
grossed more money than it did when it first came out. I think that's nothing to turn a blind eye to. And we're doing well. I think where we have, you know, where we're continuing to find is like, how do we position these movies of the past into the present,
mm,
so that we can inspire like future filmmakers, or have you know, the film industry really take it seriously in a much deeper way.
mhm,
So, you know, it helps that we have things like Donnie Darko in our theatrical catalog, and Phantasm, Blood Feast, Basket Case, you know, the real genre staples.
mm,
And also, you know, we just hope that audiences are, you know, curiouser and curiouser, and going down that rabbit hole of like, oh, I like Donnie Darko, I'll see what else AGFA is doing, and uh,
mm,
there, yeah.
yeah. My Frank the Bunny tattoo,
Ah,
quite a fan.
beautiful.
So,
Beautiful.
and
Well,
the all of it, yeah.
you'll love this that we screened Donnie at the Academy Museum in Los Angeles in Hollywood
Amazing.
in May, and Richard Kelly, the writer director, came and did a Q&A, and
Nice.
right before we all came on, James Duval showed up. So and
Not
he
bad.
just came backstage, and we got to hang with Frank the Bunny. So it was kind of a surreal day, a very surreal day. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's one of those that was came out at the exact right time for me, age wise. I would have been 14, I think, and
Yeah.
Donnie Darko at that time was just peak in my sort of lifetime. Well, I'm going to have to let you go, unfortunately.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks very much for coming on and spending the time talking genre cinema. What have you got after Fantastic Fest? What's next for AGFA?
Yeah, so we typically do we're pretty good about doing one Blu-ray release a month. So in
Okay.
October we will have a found footage trailer show that we edited as a staff called the Cult of Agfa Trailer Show, which will be available for pre-order on, I think, October 1st. And then we have our two releases in November are Something Weird collaboration. So we're doing a new restoration of Santa Claus Conquers the Martians in November, complete with some new vintage drive-in Christmas trailers and snipes. It'll be a lot of fun. And then in December is the Bloodorama triple feature with that lost film. And the other
Mhm.
two is a short called Follow That Skirt, and then a new restoration of The Undertaker and His Pals, an OG horror comedy from the 60s, which is
Nice.
quite funny. So, and we'll have a Blu-ray commentary of that with Patton Oswalt on the Blu-ray. So that'll be
Excellent.
something to buy just for that. I did the
Yeah.
commentary with him and my colleague Brett Berg, who's our head of theatrical, and it's a very entertaining commentary, if I do say so myself. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, I'll look out for that. And Patton Oswalt always just seems like one of the nicest guys, even through his socials and things like that. It just seems like, and he's one
Yeah,
of the
and
many
he's
which I
great.
really enjoy watching as well.
Yeah, and he's a great fan of Agfa. You know,
Yeah.
you'll hear it on the commentary, but he's a big fan of the filmmaker Dave Friedman, who we restored She Freak and among others. So we didn't know he was a big Friedman fan until we were doing the commentary, and we went, oh, you know, we restored that film, right? So yeah,
Aye.
he's great. We had such a great time with him.
Brilliant. Well, Jackson, thanks very much and good luck with your takeover tomorrow.
Great, thank you guys. Yeah, great to be here.